that was a long-winded answer, but that's what I have kind of come into over 4 or 5 months of being home. And I know that I see a lot of this happening with others as well. Just these profound awakenings that happen like this. And now it's just about staying in that knowing, staying in that center as everything, falls apart to come back together.
I love it. Such a beautiful example you are, Victoria, and a great reminder for all of us that no matter where you are on your journey, and let me just give an additional reminder. We all come here for just a couple of reasons. Like why we come here in these little meat suits or these avatars, like I like to call them, just to keep it fun. For a couple of reasons. A, we know that we're going to evolve. Like this energy that we're going to evolve. Like the collective energy, we're all going to evolve. Like we live in a evolving and expanding universe. Like everything that we see is expanding. It always has and it always will. And so by being here and being able to touch, smell, taste, and experience life, be physical, we're actually going to add also to all that is. Even with our physical, our thoughts are adding to the collective consciousness. And so we knew that we were going to evolve spiritually, emotionally, energetically, and we're going to add to all that is while we're here. And so we're all in different places when it comes to that. There's no right or wrong place to be. And so we can have a lot of compassion also, if we choose to, for anybody around us or anybody that we see in the world, that they just are where they are. Like they may not be ready to read the book that you read or to come on the podcast that you're getting so much out of. And there was a time in my life when I had my initial aha moment, light bulb moment at 25, 26. I just wanted to share with everybody. And I realized that if they're not asking me and they're not ready for me to share things that are helping me, maybe I can plant a seed. But if I'm attached to them, receiving it now, because then I noticed myself feeling like some type of way where I was almost resenting you for not appreciating, I'm trying to change your life here. So it's a long time ago, but I realized unsolicited advice, if we choose to give it, I'm not saying don't give it, because if someone comes in my path and I can plant a seed, I'll preface it with that. Can I just share something with you that may resonate now or may resonate later, but I'm just inspired to share? And then most time people will be like, yeah, I have had people also say, I'm not looking for a guru right now, so thanks, but no thanks. And I have to respect that also.
100%. And that's really the big thing is, it's all up to free will. It really is. I can only lead someone to the stream if they want to drink the water, but ultimately it is their choice to drink the water. And 4 years before I actually started to dive into my spiritual work, I had a really tough experience in college, and my closest friend's mother handed me this book about general anxiety. She was like, I think it's time that you have a look at this. And at first I was like, please. And then I kind of opened it and was like, oh. And it didn't stick because it wasn't ready to stick. It was just planting the seed. And then that summer, it died. And then, a few more summers went by, and I still didn't touch that seed. And then I decided to water that seed years later when I had that breaking point. And I was like, you know what, I really should open that book and pay attention to it and actually dedicate myself to it. But I needed to plant that seed in order to remember when I had that breaking point to come back to it. So sometimes people are ready to receive and, take those steps, but they are subliminally creating that inside of them that will ultimately get them to that stage.
Absolutely. I love what you're saying. I always recommend, if you're inspired to share something that you feel will be uplifting to someone, if you can share it without attachment to how they receive it, then do it. Now, do it anyways, but if you're attached to it, then you'll notice that your energy is getting affected by it, which I noticed that with me a lot. And it's a rough place to be. You never want to share someone with someone at the expense of your energy, where you're feeling miserable or resentful or any of that stuff. So I'm sure you guys aren't out there doing that. Maybe that was just me at that phase of life for me. but great reminder.
It really, it's the art of non-attachment. And I say it's an art because it really does take time and creativity in the sense of that feminine energy and that feminine aspect of flowing with it and surrendering the go, 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 right? It's the more that you can release that grip around the things that you feel inside don't feel right, the more that you're opening up to being kind of neutral to life, which is essentially, what we're kind of saying in the same way is that experiences happen around you, but they're not penetrating into your energy body and creating this density that becomes resentment or anger. It's like, oh, I feel like this for a second. I know that will pass. What is this showing me? As opposed to, oh, fuck this person, I gotta go tell them to troll the internet and tell them all of no. That's your lesson. And you pass if you choose the path of least resistance.
Absolutely. I love this. Hey, if you guys have questions here on Instagram and you want this conversation to go anywhere, put them in you see a little question mark at the bottom, hit that and put it in the question box. For you guys that are watching this anywhere else streaming, you can join us on Zoom and you see the link there and you guys can ask questions here in the chat box here. So I have a question for you, Victoria, that I'm always curious about. Before I ask this, though, I'm curious because I think this will help somebody. You mentioned I didn't know that you were a medium and that you were doing stuff with mediumship. I talked to a medium yesterday, and it's fun to have this conversation because this part of life, for those that are still fearful of this, it gave me a lot of peace when it came to death and dying, when it came to knowing that mediums existed out there, and when I had an understanding of what it was all about and what they were doing. It gave me so much peace because for me, my whole life, fear of dying is a big fear for a lot of people. That went away when I realized that this avatar was just a temporary, again, housing station of this energy, and that as it left the physical body and the physical body stayed here and was buried or maybe ceremonially burned if I'm in some cultures, whatever it is, that we can still connect with those that, that matter to us, or if they want to connect with us, that still can happen. And then we have mediums that are facilitating this. And once I realized that if we're alive, we'll always be living, even if we're not in this physical avatar anymore, I was like, well, then I'm not scared of death anymore. It's all good. I'm just going to enjoy life as much as humanly possible. And since then, it's been awesome. So if you're not fearful of death, then what are we really afraid of? Public speaking maybe is the other one. I don't know. That's never been a fear for me really too much. I'm extreme extrovert. But when it comes to your mediumship, that journey, I'm curious about it. And maybe if the audience doesn't know what that looks like or how that works or anything like that, what's your flow when it comes to that?
It's certainly something that I tread lightly with still, just because I never want to push my audience so far. I want to push them to a space of being open to receiving the spiritual world, but I know how to read my audience, and I'm never going to be by the way, this dead person told me this, but my experience with mediumship happened when I was on the cruise ship, and it started with just getting extremely deep in my meditations. I think it got to the point where I was able to transcend past what am I going to eat today? Shit, I'm really itchy. I got somewhere to be. What time is the show? Those things. Once I was able to get past the habitual thinking, I started to hear, which is called clairaudience. It sounds like your voice, but you know that it's not your voice. Okay, stay with me. And I heard someone saying that I had a spirit guide. And I hadn't done any work with my guides, but I knew that they existed. I knew people were guided by something. And then I started to feel on my left shoulder this breath of fresh air. It felt like. So I immediately opened my eyes. I was sitting by a fridge, so I went to touch the fridge just to see if there was a draft on the fridge. I was I gotta check what was that, because that felt different to me. So I closed my eyes. I was like, okay, I'm just going to go back into meditation. And this voice said that it was my grandfather. And that I had never met my grandfather before. My grandfather passed away when my mother was very young, and my grandmother was widowed very young as well. So I had never met him. But I knew that my family had a lot of very strong, deep ties and wounds of things that they wished they could have said to him. And so he said, I've been your spirit guide all your life, and I sit on your left shoulder. and I'm guiding you to where I currently am and through the rest of my life journey. And so I was like, oh my God. So I ran upstairs, I got some Wi-Fi, I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, did I ever tell you that I talked to Grandpa growing up? She goes, all the time. And I said, tell me more. She goes, we'd always be playing. You were like, when you were younger, you would always say, Grandpa's here, Grandpa's here, Grandpa's here. And I would always say, where? And they would say, literally, Grandpa's on your left shoulder. I would always say, Grandpa's on my left shoulder. And so from that space, I started to meditate further. And my guide, my grandfather would say something like, tell my grandmother I love you, Jojo. I'd be like, okay. My grandmother's name is Josephine. So I'd be like, Grandpa wanted to say I love you, Jojo. And she'd be like, those were his last words that he said to me before he passed. And then in that moment, it was like, okay, I'm not going crazy. And there's something here that needs to continue to be developed. So now I'm in a space where I know who my guides are. In meditation, I'm clairvoyant, which means I can see spirit. I'm clairsentient, which means I can feel them. And then I'm clairaudient, so I can hear them. And so I will, with my clients, I will tap into their higher selves, so tap into their God force within them, their spirit, and I will channel any information that they need, whether that means through their guides or perhaps a symbol of protection from their higher selves. Whatever it is, now I have the ability to connect to other people's spirits and deliver messages to them from their guides and from my guides. So it's been something that I'm still developing, but I think it's really important to give people the closure for a lot of people who've passed on, because they'll say something like, oh, I see 11:11 all the time ever since my dad died. And I'm like, that's just hocus pocus. And I go, really? Well, because your dad just wanted me to tell you. And they're like, so it's just about assisting and bridging the gap for people. But it's something that I'm still working on, because I want to go at my pace as well. It's enough that I'm like laying in my bed and I can like feel spirit around me all the time then. Like I can feel it as I'm having a conversation with you right now, So it's enough that I've opened myself up to this world where I step outside and I see everything. I want to go at my pace.
So good. Thank you for sharing that. And this is going to benefit you guys that are listening live. And then for those of you guys that hear this when it's out on iTunes and Spotify and everywhere else, it's really cool to know about life, because for all of us, like there's universal laws that, that govern us all. And then everything else is possibility. And so regardless of where we're at, as far as maybe it's the first time you've ever heard someone describe mediumship, I highly recommend that you stay open to all the possibilities of life, because that allows us to evolve. Like when we're ready for different things to come into our path to assist us on this journey, they'll always just reach us in perfect timing, and we don't have to stress about anything. I mean, we can just kind of just flow with life and just be present in the moment. And then all of a sudden you'll meet someone like Victoria that can share something with you because you've been attracted to follow her on Instagram or something, or go reach out to her for a reading. And then all of a sudden, like something shifts. And this can happen for us all at any time, at any moment, if we're open to it. If we're closed off and we think that we know everything, all the secrets of the universe, then A, you don't. B, it's just going to be we're not allowing, we're resisting any new things to come in to assist us. So, I mean, this becomes a much more challenging journey. So as soon as I heard you say at the beginning of the episode that you were a medium, I wanted to discuss this. And also I want to point out how, and it's so beautiful how you describe going at your own pace. Everybody has the ability to connect with, whether it be their spirit guides or with spirit, or to be able to, everybody has the ability to do this. But what's real cool about being alive with 7.7 billion other humans is we're not all drawn to the same stuff. We're not all interested in the same stuff. We don't all have these, like Victoria has a gift for mediumship that she's choosing to develop and practice, and it will just continue to evolve the entire time that she's here. And we all have different parts of life where it's like we're more drawn to these areas. And it still requires practice for us to get good at any of them. It takes more life experience, more awareness, consciousness when we're ready for it. And so it's just a beautiful reminder for all of us. And but I just want everybody to know that if maybe it's not something that you're drawn to, but you're open to it, and you say, it'd be awesome to talk to Victoria about this, reach out. Because that's why I asked her that question, because I wanted her to be able to share what she just did. So thank you for that.
Of course, and like that's the thing is you can really go at your own pace. If you're not ready to financially invest in something like energy healing work, then I have tons of free content. There are tons of free things that can begin to open your mind and your spirit to that offering. Whether or not you're just like reading a little bit about what your weekly energy is like, or you're tuning into the fact that I post energy updates every day, and then you're like, shit, she keeps talking like it seems like she's talking at me, and I'm like, yeah, because I am. I'm talking to your higher self. I'm channeling information from the divine to give to you specifically to target something within you that triggers something within you that causes you to have that aha moment or brings you back into some form of alignment. I don't just talk unless I think it's going to add value, But, even a year ago, I would have laughed if someone told me about mediumship. I wasn't ready. I wasn't open enough to be able to receive it. And now I'm strong enough on the inside to be able to be like, you have your opinion that is of a completely different dimensional reality than mine. I love you anyway. As opposed to a year ago where I probably would have been like an ego war, Now it's like you were saying, like that neutrality, that, hey, the thing about God, which is not really in my belief, it's not a thing. It's a force. It's an energy that lives within every single thing. My tarot cards, my computer, you, me, the ground, everything is God force. That's why there's an infinite amount of opportunities for you to attract in the different God force energies. That's why what resonates with me and you might not resonate with someone else. That's why there's religions, right? That's the idea, is that we're all speaking of the same thing. No matter what way we get to that truth, which is that their energy cannot die. When you realize that energy cannot die, that means that your energy, your spirit cannot die. Your physical body will, yes, but you will not die. So the choice is yours to start to live.
That's the whole reason I went there with you. That last rewind, if you were spaced somehow, I know you guys live can't rewind, but for the other, once this is posted, like this will be posted on IGTV for 24 hours, so you guys can go back and. But that part, what Victoria just said, that's why I asked her about that, solely that, because that gave me so much peace that if you're alive right now, you'll always be living. You just won't look like you look in the mirror. You'll be playing somewhere else. Where? Yeah. Doesn't matter to me what I choose to go do after this, whether I come back down to Earth or go play in another dimension that I don't even know about consciously yet. It doesn't matter to me. I just know that I'll be living, which gave me the peace to where, well, I'm just going to enjoy the heck out of this life experience because it's fun. And I've become aware of some things now in life to where it's like, let me go apply these to where I can create the humanity that I want to live in, attract those that also want to live in this type of reality like Victoria, and just go play with each other because there's 7.7 billion of us, and we can create this utopia of sorts where that to me doesn't sound like a fantasy. That sounds like the reality that I'm creating, that I live in. And it just doesn't seem that difficult because we have devices that we all have these brains in our pocket that we're talking on right now. Everybody on here, like you can ask this brain anything that you want and have it come in. And the universe, source, spirit, God will put things in your mind when you're ready to receive them. Maybe it's in meditation, maybe you're out in nature, maybe you're taking a shower or whatever. Ask it like this. They'll put questions in our mind to ask Google. Like go search for this. And it's like, oh, here's all the answers that I need. Or bring a person into our path that has the answers that we need. So I just have so much peace knowing that, we all are this energy that Victoria is describing, that I'm describing. And, once you're aware of that, it's just how do you want to live that out while you're here? And that could be any way that any of us choose. So I love this conversation so much. Should we answer these couple of questions? I have two more specific questions for you. But I saw a question here that I wanted to answer.
Yeah. Monica asked me if you have any angels around you. Everybody's got angels around you, my love. Reach out to me and we can talk.
Monica's awesome. I love that she's participated in a few of these.
Homie.
Yeah.
We're jumping from the artificial abundance from time to time in our life depending on our material needs. Yeah, the real abundance is met when we identify our soul and its real purpose. 100%. That's, that's it. And I was going to say that if this sounds a little woo-woo for you, totally okay. I encourage you to try this one thing that really changed a lot. Every single thing is God. And if God doesn't resonate with you, call it source, call it universe, call it the one, call it, whatever resonates with you. Every single thing you put in your body is a sacrifice. It is a sacrifice from God. It is an energy. Everything is energy that has sacrificed itself for you in this time. Start saying, thank you. Thank you for this sacrifice. Thank you for this food. Thank you for this tarot card, this sacrifice that gives me information that can help inspire people. Thank you for this table. Thank you for this chair. That gratitude immediately starts to bring in more things to be grateful for. And then just start to pay attention. When you're eating your food today, thank you for this avocado. Thank you for this pizza. It's all a sacrifice from the God force energy that has chosen to sacrifice itself for you. And when you realize that, then all this magical stuff starts happening. And from that space, you realize that it's all in the mind. It's all in the mind. You are a complete magician. If you are going paycheck to paycheck in your life, it's because of your mindset. If you keep having relationships where partners cheat on you, I encourage you to reflect on your abandonment wounds. If you are not having the friendships that you desire, what do you desire that those friendships are not giving you? How can you give that back to yourself to manifest that into your reality? It's all energy. All of it is energy. So if the idea of the esoteric, fifth dimension spirit guides don't resonate with you right now, start just having gratitude for all that you do have. Because that's really what, the manifestation of COVID really is right now, which is teaching us that we don't need a lot more than what we actually have. We actually have what we need. Do you have a shelter? Can you watch this from your phone? Do you have friends and family who love you? Great. You have more than a lot of people in the world. So start to celebrate all that you do have, and then you'll welcome in more of that which you don't have but you really want and deserve.
That's powerful. I don't always say this twice in one episode, but rewind and listen to that part again. You just flowed on that, Victoria. I love that so much. And let's just take it to physics. With every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so when you are grateful, you're counting your blessings, which everything is a blessing around us. I mean, like Victoria just described, then not only will you bring more to you because there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction of things coming to you, also feels really good in the moment to be grateful versus not to be grateful. So that's going to also reflect into your reality as well. And then you want to take it even one step further. Can you be grateful for the things that you desire in your life, relationships, health goals, financial goals, whatever it might be? Can you be grateful for those things that aren't yet physically manifested before you even see any one shred of evidence of it? If you can do that, you'll see things moving towards the magical things that Victoria just described so quickly, because I'm being grateful for the relationship that I want, and I'm just already grateful for it. I'm happy right now. I don't need it to be happy. That's the challenge for human beings, is a lot of times, and I was one of the best in the world at this, of needing the thing before I could feel good in the moment. And that doesn't work out so well, like at all. Like, it's just a very rough place to be, and we've all been there, I'm sure. And so if we can flip that and say, well, I'm super excited about this relationship or this financial abundance or this health goal that I have or whatever it is, and I'm just super grateful. I'm just happy that I exist and that I can physically manifest these things, and I don't need to know how it's going to happen or when or where or who it's going to be or any of that stuff, but I'm good right now. That's when you're an open channel to manifesting physically everything that we desire. And when you master that, I mean, life is your playground. This is a magical Disney world, because then we don't have to. Victoria, it's so cool that we live on a planet where in these physical avatars, we don't even have to, we're not like writers of like a Hollywood movie where we have to write out the whole plot. We don't have to. Like, all we need to know is like what we want to see in the movie. Like, oh, I want to see this relationship. I want to see this health. I want to see this financially. And that's all we have to do. And then we just can embody the energy of it and like be it, live it, that now, not need it to feel good. And then the script fills in. Like, oh, synchronicity here. And life is just one ongoing synchronicity. Like, we can't predict any of this stuff. If anybody on here has predicted everything that needed to happen for something physically to manifest, like your relationship or whatever it is that you have that you really enjoy right now, did you know that you were going to go this place and meet this person, and they were going to introduce you to this person, and because you went there, that you guys were going to go? You didn't know any of that stuff. So releasing the how, like all the details, which typically just make us anxious, and allowing the synchronicities to fill in, but they're just going to reflect from our energy now. So just focusing on that. Sounds easier said than done, but when you're aware of this, which now you all are because you can't become unaware, now it's just practice. And this is an ongoing practice, a forever practice. We never like are permanently enlightened or permanently happy or permanently anxious or permanently anything. It's moment by moment, and we get to choose.
I absolutely agree. And it's the idea that everything kind of just is, you know, it just moves through you. You're made of 70% water. Allow yourself to inhabit that same sort of energy. And I encourage you to consider, who is the voice that's asking how? Because the voice that's asking how is not you. It's a mind. It's your mind. Now, your mind is created like a computer. You type in the keys, like you type in what you want, and it's created in your mind. Yes, but that means that you can press backspace and delete if you want as well. So it's really about asking who needs all the details, because your soul, your spirit lives in divine flow. It doesn't have a timeline because it realizes that time is an illusion. You wake up when the sun rises, you go to bed when the sun sets, you follow the ebbs and flows of the moon cycles, all is well, namaste. Whatever happens, you know it's going to move through you, and your only job is to be as open as you possibly can to be a channel of light. It is not easy, but it is simple. It's about uncomplicating it.
Absolutely. I always say, Victoria, like once we're aware of all this stuff, we're 99% of the way there. And the 1% is forever. It's an eternal 1%, because that's a choice that we bring to this moment. Since we had so many little technical issues that were all sorts of things, but it's beautiful. I have a countdown going on Instagram right now. Are you in like a super hurry, Victoria? Or can we come back on and do like a part 2 here in a second with the people that are on? Is that good with you? Okay, so I have a minute and 40 showing here on this countdown. Don't ask any more questions in this one because I'm not going to be able to see them. But Arjun, I see your question, and we're going to start. We're going to start the live with that. As far as thank you for the compliment and what you're seeing in us. I always remind this. Anytime I'm complimented about anything, I always appreciate it, and then I remind that what you're seeing in me is reflecting from you. So that's what's vibrating in you right now for you to point out that Victoria and I are the most positive people that you see, with most energetic and positive. We both appreciate that, and you're seeing your reflection of you. So that's what you are as well, which is beautiful. But I do want to answer. We want to pick back up, and I'm going to have you answer first when we pick up. How do you keep yourself positive and energetic throughout the day? Because he said, as you know, any day is a mix of good and bad points. I'm just going to preface that with there's no good and bad points. They're just points. So we'll start with that. But I'm going to end this live, and then we're going to start a part 2. You guys will see us go live like right away, and then join us. Appreciate all you guys. Oh, you had to plug in yours too. Yeah, those lives drain the. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm just choosing a thumbnail for us. 1 second. 1 second. Oh, 1 second.
I also unplugged my microphone because my phone's gonna die. Just so you know.
Are you? Can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
Okay. You're gonna laugh at me. I'm trying to choose a thumbnail that is flattering for you, so you won't be upset with me if I get you with like your eyes closed.
That's good points, though. I really do.
I knew we were gonna vibe. It's very obvious when this is how we interacted leading up to this. I always know when the conversation is going to be super powerful, but they typically end up being even more powerful than I even think that they will be. Which this is a great example because you're awesome.
I feel the same way about you, my friend. I'm glad that we went through this turbulence together.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. You're smiling. We're both. Oh, I look horrific in that. I'm gonna leave it though. I'm gonna leave yours. You look good. You're smiling at the bottom.
So thank you for saying that.
Okay, let's do it. Oh my gosh, my keypad.
Is it okay that I unplugged my my microphone.
Yeah, you're good.
Don't, okay.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go live here in 30 seconds. You guys that are streaming with us, I'm going to go live again. You guys will hear Victoria again. Just waiting for this one to post. I've noticed the okay, there it is. The internet is it's interesting right now. Yeah, that's all good.
You know, they're preparing with that 5G, so.
Which so I'm personally, because I have no fear about any of this stuff either. So I'm actually excited about anything that speeds up what I do. Is because sometimes my fingers will move faster than the actual technology wants to go. So, all right, I'm live again on Instagram, live with part 2.
Part 2. I see you. Send request.
Gotcha.
I need to mute myself here.
Yep, same way. Boom. All right. Can you do the ask questions if inspired thing again? I think that worked easily.
Questions if inspired.
I'm so used to always saying that because everything that I say is if inspired. Like I only want anyone to do anything if they're inspired to do it. Like collaborating with me, everything that I invite anyone to do is if you're inspired to do it. I'm not attached to whether you do it or not.
You want it to come from a wholehearted place.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't even use the words like you should or shouldn't. You choose whatever you want. I just care about you having the awareness so that you can choose. Because before we're aware of anything, we don't really have the power to choose because we don't even know that there's choices. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I guess I could piggyback off of that question, eh?
Yeah. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I do.
Good, because I don't really. Okay, I remember now.
I would say when it comes to staying energetic and positive throughout the day, I think it's about recognizing that you're not always going to be positive all the time. I think that that's the first thing. Release the expectation that you need to be positive and energetic all the time, because that's just simply not human. You know, like we're humans and we're also beings. You know, the being is the pure presence. The human is the one that experiences emotions that sometimes don't always feel good. The idea is that you don't identify with it. That's the first thing. Meaning that feeling, and now, let's say, for example, your ex-partner comes into your mind because you're feeling a little bit lonely tonight. It's Friday night, none of your friends invited you to come hang out. Now in your mind, you're like, oh, I do miss him, her, it, whatever. And now you're looking through pictures of the two of you. And now you're like, oh gosh, yeah, we did have fun, 3 years ago.
Victoria, I'm gonna stop you. Okay, okay, you're good. Okay, you're good.
And now I'm like, all up in my feels, crying about someone that doesn't exist anymore in this now moment because we broke up, let's say, a year ago. And now I'm like, you know what? Screw the world. I'm going to join a dating app. And now you're on this dating app, and now you've got yourself in this spiral that started from an emotion that you chose to identify and allowed it to move into your body. And then you allowed it to create this big storyline. So when it comes to understanding how I stay positive or, energetic all the time, it's by doing what I know I can do, which is choose not to identify with the emotions that come through me. That's the first thing. Second thing is my morning routine is everything. My morning routine is everything. I exercise every day. That doesn't mean that I pump weights and do strength training. If I wake up in the morning and I feel a little bit anxious or a little bit masculine, I'll go and lift some weights. If I feel like my energy is a little bit depleted, perhaps as a woman, if you're having your moon cycle or you're just tired, you don't always wake up the same. That's the beauty of life. Then maybe I'll do a little bit of yoga. Maybe I'll just stretch my body. Whatever that means to you, that's a part of my routine. And then I'll meditate every single morning. That's getting my spirit together and my mind together. I pull some cards. I get into meditation. These are things that I do I do like I brush my teeth. It's a non-negotiable, people. And I do it because what it does is it centers my energy to exactly where I want to be for my day. Then I can create content. Then I can show up for other people. But if I'm starting my day and I have a glass, that is like a third full, and I'm not realizing that I can pour water into my glass to be more full in the morning, I'm going to just be depleted. So the idea is that my morning routine is how I set the trajectory of my entire day. And then last thing is, before I go to bed, as I'm falling asleep, I'll say mantras. Mantras like, I wake up tomorrow and I feel so energized. I wake up tomorrow with a money miracle. Thank you so much for this beautiful day. Tomorrow is going to be amazing too. I sleep so well. I sleep so easily. Everything comes so naturally to me as I'm falling asleep. And then you'd be absolutely floored to see the fact that you wake up in the morning, maybe with a little bit more money in your bank account, a surprise new client, someone who even reached out to you to say, hey, I'm interested in your work, whatever that means to you. It starts in your mind. So as you're going to sleep, start to think and plant some seeds of energy that you want for the next day, things that you would like to come into fruition, and then see what happens. So I guess those are the main things. So your morning and your evening routine, really, really important. And then what was the last thing I said, Noel? What did I say?
Your morning and evening routine, and for me, as I'm already thinking about what I'm excited to piggyback on, their meditation practice is,
that's it.
yeah.
You do meditate?
Of course. I didn't always, but now it's just it's for the same reason that you just described. What's beautiful about how you just described all of that is like, it's all for the same reasons. Like a lot of times I like to ask people why they do certain things, but you describe why you do them within your explanation of what you do, which is awesome. And when it comes to like morning routine and how you get your energy, like I tell people I meditate as long as it takes for me to feel an energy that I like to feel. Like I feel connected, and that's, you could describe it as centered, same, we're just describing it using different words. And taking that further for you who asked the question, Arjun is awesome. He's out in India. He always participates in these live streams. Whatever time zone we're on, it's good. I don't know what time it is there, but I know it might be tomorrow already, but you're an early bird. So but what also happens when if it matters to us, because we're all going to think thought 1, 2, and 3 of the day, and then we're going to proceed on average to think 70,000 thoughts as a human being. Just fun fact for us out there. And so, what starts the day in those initial thoughts, whatever we're thinking about, if we're waking up, being grateful for, just life and just to be alive, like it's a great first and second and third thought for sure. And then if you do incorporate meditation practice and you get your energy to where you feel connected, here's what's going to happen for all of us. If, because we're not guaranteed to stay at that energy all day. However, you'll notice if you go from feeling at peace or connected or happy or whatever it is that you want to describe it as, to feeling anxious, that first anxious thought is going to feel like you're going to feel an energetic difference in the body. Like you're going to be like, ugh, that doesn't feel good. And if it matters to you, which is the most important part of this, and I'll commend you, Arjun, for asking the question, because for you to even ask that, it matters to you. Some people, their energy doesn't matter to them right now because they're not aware of how it's basically showing, that's what's creating the life that we all see. And so because that awareness isn't there yet, it doesn't matter. They're okay to wake up and be like, oh, here we go, another day, and I'm in a bad mood, stay away from me. Like, I hope somebody comes up and like does something because I just want to cuss someone. That, I'm not telling you that you should or shouldn't live that way. However, do not expect to live your energy that way where you're upset and like frustrated and like willing to just cuss out anyone at any time. I've never heard someone say they've lived their whole day like that and they just had the most awesome day, like awesome ideas, beautiful synchronicities, met the love of their life. Like they felt healthier as a result. Never heard this story and don't believe that I ever will, because that's not what is reflecting out in the world when we choose to live that way, and it is a choice. So choose that if you feel like it. If you can become aware of it, you may decide to choose something different, not make yourself wrong for it or try to bypass it, act like it doesn't exist. If you're feeling frustrated or anxious about something, if you're aware of it, then you can allow that frustration to move through you. Or you could be like, you know what, this thing that I'm thinking about that has me frustrated right now, is it vital that I continue thinking about this right now? Like, do I have to think about this right now? Is there any other subject on earth that I can think about right now that maybe isn't as energetically charged in a dense feeling way as this subject is? And if there is, which most likely there is, but it's not like a life or death decision right now where you have to think about this most likely. If you can do anything else to where you can get back to being connected, and then you can return back to this subject that maybe right now has you feeling a little anxious, a little frustrated, but from a higher point of view, from your God force energy, from your source energy, that point of view is going to be different. And an idea will pop into your mind where it's like, oh, this is actually working. And I can see how now we're optimistic. Now it's not pessimistic and like frustrated anymore. It's optimistic, which that shift in energy just feels amazing for any of us. We've all been there. And so if it matters to you, you'll pay attention to it. And if you pay attention to it, you'll do things like Victoria said in the morning to put the energy where you like it to be. And I do the same thing, Victoria, before I go to sleep every night. I'm just visual. I'm thinking about my vision just for life. It's always fun. I do it every day. I've been doing this for so long. I'm just thinking about all the things. And then I start the day like that as well, as far as I'll meditate. And then a lot of times visualizations come in. And then like I actually write my vision out, because the ancient Egyptians had a phrase that says, once it is written, so it shall be. So I was like, well, if that worked for them, it's going to work for me too. So everything that I see in life for humanity, for my own personal life, it's all written down. And I'll read that and don't even have to read it. I know it word for word in my mind now and in my vision now. So just so many beautiful things that we just both shared and that you shared, Victoria. And thank you for that question. That is awesome. I love reminding people of all that stuff.
That's a great question. And, it's like when you wake up in the morning and you stub your toe and you think that your life is going to end, and then your life starts swearing and cussing. And then next thing you know, your kids are running all around the house and say you have children. Now, you can't get little Timmy together to go to school. And then you're driving and now you're like, well, now I'm catching every red light. And what happens is you catch every red light. What would happen if you were just like, all is well, all is well, all is well. And you imagine in your mind every green light that is coming. Before the green light comes, all the green lights come to me. And then watch what happens. You get every green light. You get every green light. Your stubbed toe is just a choice, It does feel like you're dying for a second. That's just the story of the stubbed toe. But then that moment flees. And then you get a new choice. And then the kid's running around is another test. Test, and you say, hey, Timothy, it's been a really, it's been a challenging morning, but we're going to make it better. What can we do to help you get ready for school? Then you get in the car. Then you're on your way. You're like, I got this. All the green lights. Let's go. And then all the green lights come, and then you see the power that you actually have over attaching yourself to those mindsets that continue to bring in more of that which the mind is creating.
Absolutely. I noticed when it comes to what you described, an energy for me, since I've been practicing paying attention to my energy for a long time now, but this was a great weakness for me a decade ago. It was my greatest weakness if I had to evaluate my life. But I've been practicing it for a long time now. But I notice a rushing energy, like when I feel like rush, like when I'm rushing to do something, it doesn't feel good in my body. Like I don't like how my life reflects out. Like the stub toe will come when I'm rushing, and I like that'll slow you down. And I hope you don't stub it enough to where you draw blood or something. Like been there, done that also. So it's just like the rushing energy for me is like that always gets my attention because I can feel it, and then I just don't like how life reflects out from there. So just pay attention out there. I'm not telling anyone out there you should or shouldn't do anything. Like it's all part of the life experience. I love how you classify the humanness of us and the beingness of us. Like I playfully say things. You guys will hear me whenever I say hello, beautiful humans. Like I'm affirming. Like that's a loving thing. Sometimes I'll also say, we're so funny as humans. Like that's a sarcastic. Like I'm just laughing at us because it's some of the things that we do when we're comparing ourselves to each other. I've been there. We've all done it. It's kind of silly when we think about it, seeing that we're all made up of the same stuff. The same energy is fueling all of us. I like to say that'd be like the waves in the ocean comparing themselves to each other. Like, oh, that wave is bluer than me, or bigger than me, or warmer than me. Like, I hate you. It just seems very silly to me that we do that. So silly humans, and the beingness of who we are never compares or condemns, or it only loves. So if we're loving, if we're connected, then we're being who we truly are. And if we're not, we'll return back to that when we're ready. When we've experienced enough contrast, so we're like, okay, I got to release this because can't get any worse. Doesn't have to go all the way that much momentum, but I'm sure a lot of us have been there as well. And it's all good, both sides. Because worst thing that can happen is we leave these physical avatars. I'm not wishing that on anyone because I'm sure you guys are all enjoying, being here right now in this physical avatar like I am. But if that's the worst thing that can happen is we leave these physical avatars and continue to be and exist wherever else we're being and wherever else we're existing. life, I mean, is really, do we take it a little serious then? If that's the worst that can happen is we just keep living? I think sometimes we can take life a little bit serious. And if we could just focus on like this, all this stuff that's happened in life up until now is what's causing us to desire what we desire. And we can just put our attention and our energy on that. We can create whatever it is that we want to create out here. And that goes for every single one of us because we're all, again, creating with the same energy. So I love it.
I'm in complete agreement with you, and it's wild because we actually connected over Beautiful Humans. It was just something that we both said.
Yes.
And you just kind of divinely fell into my path, and I was like, this guy says Beautiful Humans too. Like, that's the fucking homie. You don't find people who say like, good morning, beautiful humans. You know, like that. I love that. That's how we initially started a soul connection. It's just we all want the same things. We all want to be seen, we all want to be heard, and we all want to be understood. None of the ways in which we speak to ourselves are really all that creative, right? We all shame our bodies, we all like have went through I'm not enough. You know, we all think that, you know, relationships with money, you know, relationships with people, afraid of being seen, afraid of how what we have to say is going to be received. You know, none of the ways that we speak to ourselves are really that unique. When you realize that those storylines are really implanted in a lot of us, you know, it kind of normalizes us and connects us all. That we all have these deep vulnerabilities where all we really want to do is have a purpose and be seen and loved in whatever our purpose is. When you realize that you have compassion for those who are on that journey to seeing themselves and hearing themselves and understanding themselves. Because when you see and you hear and you understand yourself, then people see, hear, and understand you too.
I love that. That's so good. That's so good. Victoria, you're awesome. And yes, I love that your initial voice message to me was resonating with the beautiful human thing, because I'm saying that so lovingly. And if I thought people would resonate with hello beautiful being, some would, some wouldn't. So I say it so that everybody is included. I've noticed that about me. And those that can understand, like are ready to understand beautiful beings, like they'll start saying that back to me, and then I start flowing that with them as well. So I use both. I use it all, and it's all lovingly. It's all from a place of just wanting everybody to remember who they are, and you know, I'm gonna love you until you remember, and then after that, I'm gonna continue to love you, because that's who we all truly are. I have a.
Sometimes realizing self-worth is most important. 100%. It is. And that's really, we're talking to the same thing, my love. It's all from the inside. It's all from the inside, which is so contradictory to all that we've been taught. We're taught that we need things outside of ourselves. That skinny tea, that 60-day workout program that's going to get you to lose blah, blah weight. No, what's going to get you to lose the weight is creating a new relationship that you have with your body, where you stop, what's the word I'm looking for? You stop breaking promises to yourself, right? It's a choice from within. It's not something that you need outside of you. If you choose that, that's great. But as long as it's coming from a whole place, not from a place of lack. Right now, I'm consciously single. Why? Because I'm so rooted in who I am that I am using my strongest discernment to make sure that I am not investing any energy in anyone that I know is not my divine life partner. Why? Because I've done the work to see, hear, and understand myself. So much so that I can consciously wait to not need something outside of me to fill me until I get to that place where I know I have that divine partner right in front of me. Essentially what I'm getting at is it's all curated from inside of you. And everything that you desire starts from the belief inside. Then everything else shifts. It really does.
I love that. I love that. And it's been Victoria's life experience and her just being open to evolving, like we've been talking about this whole time, that has caused her to be so clear about what she just described as far as attracting her life partner. For everybody out there, good news for everyone is the more life experience you have. So maybe you're in a relationship right now, or maybe you're dating, whatever it is. each life experience, if we're, bringing our conscious, our full self into the life experience where you're present and you're experiencing this person, you might realize that this might not be the life partner, but there might be some things also that give you additional clarity as far as, ooh, I really like this in you. There's these other things that I just know that I don't want to really hang out with you that much. However, this thing I really like in you. And now it's added to the strength in your desire as far as what you're attracting. And then using Victoria as an example of being good now, like not needing the external relationship or whatever to fulfill you now is key. So I say that just so those of you guys out there can be open to, because sometimes I'll meet people, Victoria, and like they only are open to the next person being like the end all be all, which they might be. However, what if the universe wants you to see something else in another human being first, so that you can be like, ooh, I really, really like this, that you didn't even know existed in a human until you experience life with this person who has their own set of unique life experiences. And so, but just paying attention that if we're constantly like you mentioned this earlier in the episode, we're constantly attracting people that are, acting a certain way or treating us a certain way, that's something that's resonating inside of us as well. That's energetically is what's going on in us, and if we're going to continue to attract that. So a lot of times when people leave a relationship and then get in another one right away, that next person has a lot of the similar things going on because you haven't evolved so much as a person yet to where, unless you've been evolving and then that person is moved out of your life and then you attract, because that's the cool thing. It's like for all of us, the clearer that we get on what it is that we desire and the more that we embody that now, if there's someone already in your life that they've kind of already served their purpose, like they're not really evolving, like you guys are kind of evolving, like you're not going to ever change them or convince them to evolve. Like they're on their own journey, they're on their own path. And so we don't have to like worry about like, dang, like I got to turn this person into all these things that I know I desire, or else it's not going to feel so good. Well, if we just continue to embody what it is that we desire and just being that now, this person is either going to willingly evolve to where it's like, oh, now we can, co-create this in this space, or they'll be moved out of our experience so that someone else can be moved in. And so we don't have to do that work. That's not our work. Is just for us. It's an internal job. So I'm happy that you pointed all this. I love talking about relationships. It's fun to flow this because it's a big one for a lot of people.
It is, and it's all about, sometimes people come into your life just to learn how to say no, and that's been a big one for me, is just learning that some people come into my life simply so I can learn how to strengthen my boundaries, and that's beautiful too. That is beautiful too. I need that, or else I have flimsy boundaries and I let everyone into my heart. That's also not serving my evolution, because if I'm just this open channel all the time, I get easily very energetically depleted. And when you see someone who's consistently, for example, in relationships time after time, I'd argue it's because they're afraid of their own reflection. They don't know how to depend on themselves to fulfill the feelings that those partners give them back onto themselves. And that'll be their lesson to learn, right? That's what we're talking about, free will, up to them if inspired. If no one could have told me to have my breaking point, I had to put myself in my own space of having that breaking point that started my breakthrough. And that's kind of the same with relationships. They keep mirroring back to you until you decide to say, wait, do I like this reflection? What is this actually reflecting to me? And what can I change inside to change that outside reflection?
Absolutely. A mantra that I like to just repeat, and I don't know if it's a mantra, but I guess it kind of is. I always like to affirm that the universe knows what I like and what I desire, and I'm good now with or without that. So it's just I never go without what I desire, because the universe, I don't have to do the work as far as figuring out how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, or who it's going to be. And so that's totally released, and I'm totally cool with, like, I've been living solo since January 2016, and like I'm totally good with being solo. I was challenged at the beginning of quarantine, I will say, because I questioned, which I just needed to release it, which then all of a sudden my channel opened back up. But I just questioned, was it even like a possibility, which is always a possibility. But I even questioned that, is it a possibility to even vibe with someone, because human connection, and I'm an extrovert, is like my favorite part of life. And so because like all of a sudden people were so fearful and I didn't have any, I was like, am I the only one left with no fear? Like nobody, everybody has a mask on. Like, and this is at the very beginning of all of it, back in whatever it was, March or whatever. And so there was like 2 weeks where it's like, damn, I haven't even had a hug from another human being. And I realized that that was just my own resistance to allowing the universe, again, knows what I like, and allowing it to attract to me, but being okay now. So once I got back to being okay now and releasing it and focusing on what is it that I can do with my time and my attention and my energy, and focusing on that, then all of a sudden the channel opened back up, and I haven't had a human connection complaint since then, because I just attract people that look at life without fear the same way that I do, and it's been all good. So
Actually, when I first got off the ship in the middle of March, I was supposed to go stay with my family, and they were peeking and freaking. They were like, if you come home, you have to be in here, you have to wear a mask, you have to stay away from your grandmother. I was like, I haven't seen my grandmother in a year, and she's not getting any younger. So I decided to be like, you know what? I'm not going to come home. I'm not going to come home. And they were floored. They were floored because I made the choice to be like, there is so much fear happening. And one thing that I know is that I don't operate in fear. So I'm going to do me. And I found a random hotel in Toronto. My family lives about 3.5 hours away from Toronto, just for some of our listeners. And I was like, I got this hotel. I get in my Uber, and it's this older man. I'd probably say he's probably in his mid-60s, early 70s. And him and I are chatting, and I am so emotional. I can't keep myself together. I'm grieving so much. I'm crying. I'm kind of spilling my beans to him. And this is at the point where we start to say that, like, you're not allowed to be in physical contact with anybody, okay? And I get out of my Uber, and he helps me grab my luggage, and he goes, can I give you a hug? And I hugged him, and I hugged him for such a long time, and I cried in this stranger's arms. Not only that, but he was an older man, and I can imagine it in my head, people being like, gasp, like the audacity. And in that moment, it was like, there is still so much love in the world, no matter how much fear the narrative is pushing on us. And I attracted that man into my life at a time where there was so much around me that felt like I was potentially the problem, or I was not seeing the solution clearly. And the fact that this older man embraced me in a time where I just wanted to be close to my family, but I knew inside, that inner knowing was like, don't you dare go home, girl, because you can't save yourself. And then you can't save them if you don't save yourself. The fact that he embraced me like that was an aha moment for me. And the more that you stay open to that, the more the signs will present themselves. Like, the world seems like it's falling apart to some. I go to Tim Hortons every single morning, and the ladies named a drink after me because they liked my energy so much. They named their peach iced tea the Victoria, because I started to go there as soon as the place opened, and all I did was be kind. I share that with you just to show you that the more that you are open to receiving love and the divine guidance that is always with you, the more magic always presents itself to you. Always. There's an infinite amount of love in the world right now, no matter how fearful it may seem. So, yeah, that's the end of that sermon.
I love that so much. And I want you guys to take one more thing with you from this story with the older gentleman, because that, how he was being, like in that moment of, wanting to hug Victoria and just share love. We can only share love if we're being love in the moment. And so the fact that he could share love was because that's what he was being. That's what he was embodying. He was being who we all truly are in that moment. And I don't know this gentleman, obviously, in this story. However, if that is a normal way of being, like if he lives his life that way, where that connection is pretty common for him, like that's a part of his life, he has zero to fear when it comes to virus or anything. the energy, the frequency of a virus, corona or anything else, an illness, is much different than the energy of who we truly are. The love energy, the well-being energy, the wellness energy, like that's a totally different frequency. And in 2020, just side note for everybody out there, right, when we talk about energies and frequencies and vibrations, these are things that scientifically can be measured now in 2020. So we can call it like he's being loved, but we have devices scientifically that I've actually seen measuring from thoughts and from my brain and also from my heart, and they can measure the energy of an entire room as far as what the frequency is. So this can be measured. So if in that moment we were measuring the energy of the older gentleman that sharing love with Victoria, that would measure, and let's just label it love. And then Victoria's energy, if we could look at that, was going from wherever it was to it was just rising because she was now tuning into this love energy and he was lifting her up in that moment. So just the beautiful thing to realize is if we were to measure the energy of how someone feels when they are fearful or have the illness, be very, very similar. Very similar. Like the body is like, oh, well, I guess we're getting sick because we're already feeling the energy. We're already embodying that now. So regardless if there was a virus going around or not, the body's like, well, I guess this is the direction that we're going. You know, before any of this stuff happened, I used to have people that were affirming, damn, every time I go on a plane, like I get sick or like the body's already like, oh, well, I guess we're getting sick because the energy that I'm feeling, like it's the same as I'm going to feel when yeah. So just great to know out there. Like if we just, again, if it matters to us and we embody the energy of who we truly are, even if you had the virus in your body right this second, the body would just return back to its natural state of health. It would just get rid of it. I met a girl a couple weeks ago out on the beach, and her dad got the coronavirus and healed from it. He was cool. And I asked him, I already knew the answer to this, but I asked him, I was like, your dad he wasn't like worried about like death when he like got the virus. Like he's a pretty like happy-go-lucky, like, you know, he had an optimistic point of view. And she's like, oh yeah, that's just how my dad is. Like he's super optimistic. Yep. I already knew the answer to that, but she just, you know, confirmed it. And I shared with her why I already knew that, and like that helped her as far as her, you know, journey, because there's a little bit of, even talking to me, I could tell there was a little bit of hesitancy because, and I maintain a distance from people. Like I'm not just going on into people's space because I don't know where they are. I can't vibrate for anyone else out there, even if I'm not fearful. However, it was fun for me to be able to share with her what it is that I was aware of when it comes to what I just described to you guys. And I could see that it helped her. Like I felt like a peace, you know, about her because she's a little bit nervous interacting with people and then going back because she's been taking care of her dad and been since this all happened. So great example. I appreciate you sharing that.
You know, we're all doing the best we can, right, with the circumstances and how, where our level of consciousness is. Some people feel like they are genuinely protecting themselves and protecting others from wearing a mask. I believe that it is masking your throat chakra and it keeps you further away from exactly what they want you to do. I believe that the scariest virus of them all is one of the mind, right? That's just my level of consciousness. Does it make your reality any less valid to you? No. Do you feel safe? Great. Do you feel heard? Great. Do you feel understood? Great. Keep doing you. I'm not going to judge you. I love you. And I hope that you give me the same thing, even if my belief is not yours. But I think a really important thing to note that I didn't mention in this Uber drive with this Uber driver was that he said to me, I've lived a really good life. And if I was to die right now, I'm happy. I got my kids. I got some grandkids. I worked in the police force for 25 years. You know, he's like, I had a good life. And that was really powerful because he wasn't unfulfilled in his life. Even if he was to get the virus and he was to pass on in this time, he would be at peace. If you're afraid of dying, of course you're afraid of coronavirus. If you're at peace in your life, you're not afraid because you know that there's nothing to fear but fear itself. I'm not afraid of dying. I have no fear because I understand that I'm only here for a temporary time in this physical body, but I can bounce into other realities after I'm done with this body. So therefore, it can't touch me because I vibrate higher. And if it did touch me, I'm at peace because I believe that there's a divine timing in everything. No matter what those numbers because I do feel like it's important to respect the boundaries of where we are collectively right now, which is polar opposite. You're either like butt fucking fear right now, right? And you think that the world is ending, or you're like, namaste, baby, we got this. And sometimes, which is kind of where most of us are, we're teetering between those two worlds in the matter of seconds, right? I feel my own energy going up, down, right? Kind of what you and I were talking about, I'm staying neutral in it all, allowing the storm to happen around, but kind of being the calm in the chaos. It's all serving this age of Aquarius, this new earth, one where we're not even having a discussion about some of the shit that we're having discussions about anymore. But the discussions need to come up, the shadows need to be revealed in order for us to choose the light as a collective. And when we choose the light, what happens? We raise our vibration, we raise our consciousness, and then in doing that, all of the structures and systems that were based in greed and fear and power, ego, are dismantled. That's what's happening, is it's a collective conscious spiritual awakening. But a part of spiritual awakening, since you feel very isolated, you feel very confused, you feel very lost, that's a part of that incubation stage. It's just a part of the spiritual process. So the more that you can respect where everybody is at their level of consciousness and the reality of which they're operating in, the quicker we'll get to that new earth and the more seamless the transition will be.
Absolutely. I love this so much. You guys just be the light that you want to see in the world. Like if you, whatever you want to see, embody it, be it now. And I've been purposely showing more of my light, like on publicly on social media. Like, you know, there's been times where I've gone out to the ocean and I was going out there anyways. However, I was like, let me record a 3-minute video or 5-minute video for the beings out there just to uplift, just to be an example of someone that all I needed to see is once people, as far as the virus or the inequality stuff that's been happening in America and around the world. And I just needed to see it once. And now I'm aware of it. And then I can say, what would I like to see? And then I embody that energy. And that's where all my attention goes. And so don't take this as insensitive, but I forget that all this stuff is going on. This is not a part of my life experience, the stuff that's going on. I've already seen it. I know that it's happening in the collective. And so for me to continue looking at it, and putting my attention and my energy there, only thing I can do is the same thing as everybody else that's putting all their attention and energy is create more of that, create more fear. So what I choose to do and what all of us can choose to do if we choose it is to put our attention on what it is that we would like to see, embody that, and then attract other people like Victoria and so many other humans around the planet that also want to see something similar. And then we just create that to where that is the new normal, since they like to use that term. And then and once that is the new normal, then we are creating this utopia of sorts to where, but this is what we came for anyways. Like we came here because like look at the world that we live in. If I showed you guys what I'm looking at right now, like, and you all have this nature like in your world and wherever you are on the planet, like we live on such a beautiful planet that we get to make even more beautiful with the things that we're inspired to create that make our lives easier, like the technology that we're using. And this is only evolving. So this universe, this world is beautiful. It's expanding. Everything is all good. The worst thing that can happen is you leave this physical avatar and then you get to go play somewhere else. So not the worst thing in the world either. But while you're here, just again, use the things that are happening, the challenges, the contrast in your life and in the collective to fuel you, and ask the question of what would I like to see, and then start being that now. Ask, how will it feel if I was already living that now? If this was already a normal part of my life. If I've been living like this for years, then I'm not saying me, I have been, but I'm saying for you out there, like ask yourself, why would you like to see it? And then how would it feel if you'd already been living this way for years, and then start living like that now, and then watch how the world around you starts to reflect this new reality, this new world that we're all creating. And we can all do it. So be the example out there. If you're already doing this, just be the example for those around you. And if you did nothing else, that would be so beneficial for the planet right now.
I encourage those to consider the subliminal messaging in the new normal that they're presenting to us. Because the new normal is not really what you want it to be. The new earth is what we all really are hoping for. Equality, a space where everybody has a seat at the table, that we don't ask questions, please sit. The fact that everybody feels like they can have a purpose, that they're not confined by a 9 to 5, that they're completely unfulfilled in. This whole energy of I'm not enough and nothing is ever enough energy is what we're trying to dismantle. Because we're coming home to the truth that we've always been enough and that we actually have unlimited potential tapped within us. But we're not being told by the mainstream narrative about how we can take care of our mental health right now, how we can take care of our spiritual health, things that naturally boost our immune system at this time. It's important to consider the ways in which this information is being delivered to us, the ways in which truths are being unveiled that are being censored, and where you fall in that category of feeling out your truth amidst all of the information that you are receiving right now. The new earth that we're entering is a space of love and abundance for all. If that's your soul blueprint and your soul journey and the free will that you choose to be able to operate from that space. Some of us are already living there. Noelle and I operate from that space all the time. It's your choice. But that's where we're going. The new normal is not a space that you want to be in where you have to be 6 feet of distance from people with a mask on at all times with a vaccine that may or may not have AI in it. That's not the world that you want to live in. You want to live in a world where you have free will and the ability to create everything that you have ever desired and are deserving of. I just encourage you to consider as you move forward, what is this new normal they're speaking of? And what is this new earth that you deeply want and that we're all, in our own ways of consciousness, trying to obtain? Yeah.
That's beautiful. Victoria, I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, which we already have here. And I think we're going to leave this conversation there. And I want you to just share anything that you want the audience to know as far as promotional stuff. Last thing I will ask, though, just because I want to make sure I don't want to do a disservice to those that might be listening to this episode 50 years from now, because the internet's not going anywhere for a while. Just anything else that may want to flow out of you. Could be any subject that you're like, I didn't ask you this, but it's just like, I've been saying this to myself a lot, or I've been saying this to my clients a lot. If there's anything like that, definitely. And then anything you want to promote to the audience that you have going on right now. But you're an awesome human. I love playing with you. First co-creation, and there will be more for sure.
Oh, completely, soul brother. We're pals now.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't have anything to promote. Not because I don't have a business, but because I want to leave it up to the listeners who have liked my message and who are inspired to learn more. I offer readings. I'm a psychic medium. I'll leave the rest up to you. If you're curious, my Instagram is Victoria Pippo, Pippo. The rest is up to you. I believe that this connection will bring in all of the connections I need. Wise, y'all, just keep trusting your heart, because from head to heart, that's the start.
I love that. And I highly recommend following that inspired action when it comes to connecting with Victoria, or any inspired action, any curiosity that we have as a human being where it's like, that sounds interesting. If you follow that, what that's going to lead to is a new life experience. And that new life experience is going to automatically, regardless of the result of the life experience, is going to cause new clarity, oh, I like this, or oh, I don't like that so much, or oh, I want to go in this direction. Like, it's going to cause evolution. It's going to cause growth. It's going to do what we came here to do. And so if we are inspired to do something and we just stay in the same place, no new life experience, no new clarity, no new evolution, and you just you wait till the next time you're inspired to do something, and hopefully you take a life experience there. So I'm so pro life experience. Go out. Again, that's why you won't hear me say you should or shouldn't do anything. Follow the curiosity, the nudges, the adventure, the wonder. If you follow these things, life will just continue to be this adventure movie where you're the star, and we don't have to predict any of it. It'll unfold just magically, all in perfect timing. I have a tattoo on my ribs that say perfect timing. It just is what it is. So life is amazing on the other side. So I'm balanced in that way. My Libra. I have feel good tattooed up here, in Farsi, so.
I'm more I come up with weird things. For example, I've got these 3 lines that are on my wrist, my inner wrist. People always ask me, where are those? I go, well, parallel lines. They always run side by side. I've got my grandmother, I've got my mother, and my sister. Because no matter where I go in the world, I never want to forget the divine feminine goddess women in my life that have absolutely done nothing but that support me on this life journey. I never want to forget where I came from. Everything I do is to inspire them, to show them that they are not any of the mental illnesses that they have. They have every ability to achieve all that they desire, and I'll show them because they're going to be right by my side the entire time. So that's literally the only tattoo I have. But I shared that with you. It's just so interesting. You're saying like life is amazing, and mine's like these weird lines that are.
I love it.
You know.
I love it.
Whatever message speaks to us.
I love it. If I could like poof, and I'd have actually no tattoos because I actually fell in love with like the visual of the body. But since I started getting them at 16 and 17 and 18, I was like, well, let me just keep adding here and there. But now I strategically do it. It has to be a message that inspires me, and it has to be on a body part that I can't grow muscles up, like the ribs.
Life experiences at 16 to get those tattoos.
It is.
Like, okay.
I covered a part of my body on my arm at 16, and I'm like, damn, I want to see the skin there, but it's covered with ink, so it's all good. Line of the day, I agree. From head to heart, that's the start. I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing time with me. It really means so much. And anyone who's tuned in, you should celebrate yourself no matter what for taking time to invest in your consciousness. So whatever celebration looks like to you, make sure to do that.
Absolutely. I love that you just said that. Yeah. If you've listened to this entire conversation, then it matters to you. Like your consciousness matters to you. And if it matters to you, like definitely celebrate because it's a forever thing. And whatever it is that'll be useful on your journey will always find you. You don't have to go searching for it like frantically, like I got to learn this or learn. Not necessary. Get back to just being who you truly are in this moment. And whatever it is that will be useful for you on your journey. I started saying useful because I used to say whatever it is you need, but we don't need anything. Like what we need is already inside of us. So we'll attract what is useful for us that will enhance the experience of this life. And that will always come in perfect timing. So I love it so much.
100%, my friend.
Yeah, so beautiful. Well, I appreciate you, Victoria. And you guys definitely connect with Victoria and share this episode if you're listening to this live right now. If you were inspired to listen, whether you're on Facebook or wherever you might be, hit the share button. You'll basically help someone else that is ready for their consciousness. And I love that about social media. It makes it so easy to do that. For you guys here on Instagram, this will be live for 24 hours on the IGTV. And then this video will be forever inside of my Universal Abundance community. And then this will come out on iTunes and Spotify. We're at the end of July, probably end of August, early September. So appreciate that you guys that are listening in live that were inspired, and leave a review when it comes out and say that Victoria human, she's awesome. Like I became aware of this, and this, and I'll not only screenshot that and tag her up and all that stuff. It'll also be the reason that someone else that was searching for whatever medium or energy or whatever finds this episode and it improves their life, and you will be the reason why because of your review. It's just how it works. Like the universe can work with all of the energy that we put out there. So if you put out a loving energy of appreciation when you're sharing something or showing appreciation to someone, it not only will feel good to that person, it will also mean that someone else gets to experience that energy because of you putting energy out there as well. So it's just my long-winded way of saying, leave a damn review. I know, I'm just kidding. I actually don't even, I see them every once in a while. I'm like, oh, this person left a review 2 weeks ago. I'm so appreciative of all of them. So appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Whenever you hear this, whether it's live or 50 years from now, and we'll talk to you guys soon on another episode. Awesome.
Many blessings, everyone.
Victoria, I'm going to end this IGTV and then say bye to you over here on Zoom.
Okay.
Bye, guys. That was fun. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Victoria? Can you hear me? Unmute your, oh wait, you're so funny. Now unmute your Zoom so I can hear you. You're good. You're good now. No, you're good now. Let me stop the stream on